everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Princess Charles, who is an advocate and community strategist. Welcome to the show, Princess.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
Okay. First and foremost, the name alone is fly.
Th- You know,
I'm just gonna let you know off the top. Like
Thank you. My Haitian parents did a thing.
you got royalty right next to your name the whole way through. So I
Yeah.
could only imagine the stripes you had to earn to keep that name. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
absolutely.
So we gonna talk about them stripes. We're gonna talk about them stripes. But before we dive in and talk about your career and all the beautiful things you're doing, just give the listeners a little bit more of an understanding of your cultural background and where you grew up.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be on this beautiful podcast that gives us as first generation and second generation immigrants the platform to talk about our experiences. So again, thank you all for having me. Once again, my name is Princess Jolie Charles. I don't know if you guys can tell based on the name that I am a Haitian woman. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, but my household was Haiti. My parents come from Gonaive and Jacmel of Haiti. I don't know if you all are familiar, but you all should get to know it. And I am a proud Haitian woman. Although I was born in Brooklyn, Haitian Creole was my first language because my grandmother raised me. My parents were in my life, but my grandmother raised me, right? And she didn't speak any English. So I was forced to speak the language, to speak Haitian Creole and to speak it with pride. And at times it was a bit embarrassing because I don't know if you all are familiar with the Haitian culture. If you were not born in Haiti, but you pick up on the language, they tend to pick on you because it's like they'll say things like, oh, Creole, which means that your Creole is a bit compromised. Yet I think in having to pick up on this language and pick up on how knowing how to communicate with others, it created this sense of resilience and confidence, right? Because it's like, I'm
Mm,
going to get my thought across. I'm going to ensure that my community is getting what they receive, whether you like it or not. So that's a big part of me.
okay. So Brooklyn. Did
Yes.
you were you born in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn. I
Okay.
grew up in
And
Crown Heights, and I grew up in
oh,
Crown
okay.
Heights. Yeah, I grew up in the Heights. Went to school in Bed-Stuy,
Oh,
in
you
middle
moving
school.
around.
Yeah, and then I went to Claiborne High School, which is like a Prospect Efforts Garden. So yeah, I'm a Brooklyn girl through and through.
Hmm. Okay, still live out in BK right now?
Yes, BK and DC, back and
Mm.
forth.
Okay, you in the DMV area.
Yeah,
You moving and grooving, I see over there. I
yeah.
like that. I like that. Well, I'm from the Bronx, so it's always
Okay,
good to,
period.
BX, Brooklyn, we ride together, but
Okay, okay.
I remember going out to Brooklyn on a regular basis. I used to head out there all the time to a lot of events. But yeah, Brooklyn, especially when it came to like the Caribbean Day Parade.
Yes, Labor Day.
I want to say that the Haitian groups were like they were just that parkway would be flooded.
Baby, we make Labor Day.
No,
Like,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm
like,
not gonna lie.
yeah.
Everyone that has come on the show that's from Haitian descent, and we talk about like the days of growing up in like Brooklyn or New York and going to the parade. I remember one time I was at the parade, and I never forget. I was as a little kid. They my uncle lived on the parkway, and one day we were out there. The Jamaicans go by, the St. Lucians go by, the Bajans go by, and then all of a sudden we hear the ground shaking. It was like
Yeah.
rattling. The cars is like, and I'm like, is everything okay? Like, it felt something was off, and they were like, the Haitians are coming, and I was like, come on, the Haitians are coming. Then all of a sudden, I went upstairs real quick, and I looked outside the window. Herds came around the corner, and I want to say it didn't stop. It just the floats after float after float after float. When I say the Haitian group, when they always say Haitian to the bone, they are so right about that.
And thank you for like pointing that out. And I believe that you're Jamaican. I think I overheard
Yes,
the other
Jamaican
podcast.
and Saint Lucia.
Right? Yeah. So in Brooklyn, especially, it's the Caribbean diaspora is so big, right? Like that's what makes Brooklyn Brooklyn is that you're going to see diversity even in terms of blackness,
Yes.
right? And we got the Jamaican food, the Haitian food, everything. But one thing that I love about being Haitian and being born and raised in Brooklyn is that despite all of the chaos that you may see in Haiti, when it's time for us to come together, we come together and we come together deep, right? And when you're able to see that and then look at the state of the country, it's like, well, there is hope because there
Yeah.
is something that can bring us together. And that's something that I just, I love my people. I love my
Mm.
people so much.
Y'all about that life.
Yeah, for
About that life.
real.
So if we want to talk about it right now and dive into that, talk a little bit about if someone was off the street, who doesn't understand the Haitian culture, could you describe the Haitian culture? Like give it like a little breakdown of what it consists of to be of the Haitian culture.
What does it mean to be Haitian? Wow, that's deep. Means resilience.
Okay, yep, that's always a big word for you.
Yeah.
Everyone has said that. So shout out to that.
Resilience. Yeah, resilience. It means confidence because in order for you to be resilient, I think that there has to be a sense of confidence that you do have, right?
Yep.
Because you are going to be faced with adversity. You're going to be faced with people denying you. At times, you'll be faced with your own looking down on you. And I think that being a Haitian
True.
woman has taught me how to advocate for myself and how to stand my ground on a lot of things. And I think any Haitian person that you come across, you will always realize that the confidence is in them, that they're going to say what they need to say, regardless of however other people feel. Sometimes it may not come off the best way, right? But we have this layer
To
of
each his own.
protection. Yeah, to each his own, right? But you're Jamaican, so you know how
Yeah.
it goes, right? Um, but
It's just it's we're just vibrant people. So
yeah,
that's
we're
why
just.
they don't understand. This is the vibrant energy that we
And
have.
then I think the other thing is like when you have a group of people who is constantly trying to erase your history,
Come
who's
on now.
constantly trying to misidentify you and tell
Yep.
you who you are and treat you as if you are a savage and that if it wasn't for this group coming in that there would be no refinement or reformation. It forces you once again to be like, nah, I'm not gonna take this, right? Like
Mm-mm.
this is not how it's gonna go. And I'd say the third thing is being Haitian is beautiful
Okay. Yeah.
because it's ugly. And that's what makes it so beautiful. And I tell people all the time that you have to love being Haitian to be proud of being Haitian. And loving it comes with accepting the ugly because the
Mm-hmm.
ugly is what makes you see the beauty. And not only that, I think there's just something so profound about being able to, again, get through adversity, but the way that we build things from the ground up is crazy, right? Like
I
they
give y'all that.
tell you that Haiti is ugly. And Haiti is one of the most beautiful countries. And I'm not saying this because I'm Haitian. I'm saying this because this is a fact and I've traveled all over the world. Haiti is so beautiful, but we've been robbed. And
Yeah.
that's what I got for you.
That's one country that I can in the news in the tabloids. Mm, it just there's problems everywhere we go.
Yeah.
But but there's something about when the media highlights the negative so much that you never see the positive.
Hmm.
I greatly appreciate you mentioning, erasing the history, and erasing the history also means erasing the good,
Yeah.
right? This bad history, right? But if you leave the bad history, but you leave the good, I mean, if you erase the good and you leave the bad, that's what people will only know, right? And then people always claiming if it wasn't for us, then the Haitian community wouldn't be the Haitian community. Mind you, the Haitian community was Haitian community before you even arrived, right? They were kings and queens before you even got here, right? But then you pull up and you're like, hey, look, just to let you know, we can help you out some more, right? So it is, but you are right, the resilience, and I love the fact that you're talking about you got to love being Haitian, right? And I think that's a very big thing that I'm glad you're advocating for, like loving your culture. A lot of the thought leaders that have come on before, there was a time period in their life where they had to kind of question like their culture. They're like, I don't even know if I love it because being Haitian or being Jamaican or being Guyanese. It had issues. No matter where they were going, the accent, the way they dressed, the food that they ate, their cultural differences, in a corporate environment just didn't sit well. So people kind of like, were scared to kind of like say, hey, look, I'm Haitian, right? Speaking Creole, you know, that little stuff like that. But now, with all the things that's going on in the world today, hopefully it does, shine a little bit brighter for all of us.
And I think it does. I think with the help of social media
Yep.
and
Yep.
representation being in so many of these corporate spaces that we weren't accepted in originally, it's shining a light on a lot, right? And
Mm-hmm.
not just the one thing that I've learned is that they tell us that our history started after slavery when the history has always been there, right? So shout outs to all the historians, the architects who are bringing light to the type of information that has been out there for so long, but once again they've erased history. So I think going back to you saying like there's now, I guess you're basically also alluding to that there's this sense of pride, right, that we now have where we want to say yes, I'm Haitian,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
right?
I'm seeing that.
Yeah, right. Because back then, I remember I'm 26, going on 27. I remember back then in fourth grade, I would have people try to fight me for saying that I'm Haitian, right?
Yeah,
Like, they would be
yeah.
like, and I'd have to be like, well, I hope this don't get back to my mom, but I'm gonna have to stand on business and do what I need to do because this is
Yo,
the
that's
Brooklyn in me is like, yo, this is who I am. Like
10
I
toes
can't
down. 10
10
toes.
toes down, right? I can't erase this. But again, I think it's because we're learning so much more, people are advocating so much more. There are beginning to have, there's more like safe spaces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And people are like, I'm empowered by this. I love
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
experienced this. Like I'm not bugging. And it's truly that it's just beautiful.
And you said the key word, social media. You know,
Yeah.
obviously social media could be looked at, frowned on because of all the stuff that it could do, depicting people's lives that are not really true, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like because of social media, a lot of individuals that really love their culture have kind of like stepped out of their comfort zone and said, hey, look, if you like my page, you like my page. I'm still gonna promote it, right? So seeing stuff, I like to look at there's an Instagram page of Jamaica, a spot called Portland. It's in the countryside, but they show like the beautiful side of Portland. Like it's not just everyone's like countryside, yardman, bushman, and all that kind of stuff. They think it's just rough. But then when you look at it, you're like, wow, wait, hold up. This actually look good. The roads look paved, right? But in some of the history and some of the pamphlets, they're like, yeah, this is if you really want to be in the rough area, you go to Portland, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but this Instagram page is looking real nice. So it got me thinking. So shout out to all those advocates out there really trying to promote on their page, the positive aspects of, Haiti and all the other various different countries. And, a platform like this, we really we try to promote, our first and second generations immigrants, really giving their stories a lot of light so people could truly see that it is hard, it is a struggle, but you can make it. You could definitely make it. Talking about your childhood, growing up in Brooklyn, I like how you were talking about 10 toes down, right? And standing on business. Talk to us a little bit about the childhood. Any moments in time when you were growing up in your childhood shape your passion for advocacy and justice?
So I'm a church girl. My uncle, Pastor Mike Jean-Baptiste, owns parts of like Utica and Crown. So originally, the church was a movie theater, and then he bought it. He bought some of the block, and then he turned it into a church. And so a lot of my life was what we call the three L's, Liko, Liglis, Lakai, which means home, school, and church. And being in that pastoral line, there are so many disparities, inequalities, and just very touchy things that happen within the church and
Mm-hmm.
sexism, right? So it's like, okay, there are things that are happening, but as a woman, as a young girl, do I have the right to get up and say something and be like, this wasn't cool? right? We're saying
Yeah.
this is all happening in the name of Jesus, but I don't think that this is very godly. And I think the question that I had to begin to ask myself very early, and I believe it was President Theodore Roosevelt that touched on this in one of his speeches, is knowing the difference between my duties and my rights. Now, I may not have the right to stand up, but it is my duty to sit there and say when something is wrong. So if that means that we are emancipating whatever young girl that may be going through that within the church or young boy, or we may be breaking that chain, and if it means that, you know, I'm going to have to be nailed to a cross for standing up for what is right, then I am going to do it. So I'd
Mhm.
always say the church played a major part in why I use my voice the way that I do, because I know what it's like to be shadow banned. I know what it's like for somebody to say
Yeah.
you don't know what you're talking about. I know what it's like for something ridiculous to be happening and everybody's turning a blind eye because they're scared, but it's like you don't get anything done when you're scared, right? This is life or death
Yeah.
right now. We need to get up and say whatever that we need to say. So a lot of those things shaped, my
Mm.
for advocacy and speaking up.
And when people are scared, obviously, it breaks us up. It separates us. So
Yes, it
there's
is.
really no unity at that point in time. When people are scared, it shows from history all the way to now. When the community gets scared, the first thing they start doing is saying thinking about themselves versus thinking about the group. So you are right. You are right. I mean, I'm glad that your experiences at a young age kind of gave you a little bit of insight to be like how you want to move and navigate. A lot of people search their whole lives trying to find their passion,
Yeah.
trying to find like that envelope that has their name and exactly what's in it that they're gonna be doing, hopefully for the rest of their life, right? I'm glad that you found it at a very early age, and seeing it through various different experiences. That's what I'm kind of hearing as well too. Um, you speak on like finding a voice, advocating for yourself. Like talk a little bit more about that.
So, hmm, so there's many things that I can touch on. So my mother was my dean growing up in middle school when I was going to school in Bed-Stuy. My mom has her PhD. And
Come on now.
right, and I'm giving all of these backgrounds because I come from a very confident and bold family, right? Very educated, very like, okay, so what's next? Like, what are we doing? Like, you want to do this and why? You want to go to the corner store by yourself for what?
Come on now.
Want to go hang out with this friend for what? So being in a position where I've always had to answer those whys started like building this thing, but I'd say another pivotal moment for me is like going to the school in Bed-Stuy where you're surrounded by bright students who lack resources or who come from homes that are not two-parent homes. And I'm not even going to call them homes, they just come from a house. There's no
Yeah.
sense of security, right? And my mom is bringing me into her office, and sometimes she would have me sit on these fights, sometimes these stabbing incidents, sometimes these almost drive-bys. And she's looking at me and she's like, I need you to use your critical thinking skills and I need you to basically dissect this situation. What do you think I should do next?
Mm.
And being put on the spot at 8, 9, 10 years old, where it's in my hand as to what happens with my colleague, my peer, the student, it kind of put this sense of like urgency and there's this pressure, right? Where I have to be aware. Yet I always credit it back to the church because the church is like the biggest place for politics. I mean, even when we're thinking about post-slavery, where they weren't, yeah, like they freed us, yet we don't have the right to vote. We don't have the right to run for office. It's the church basements that were used where everybody would come together and they would strategize and they would figure out how they would want to
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
take over
Yeah.
the community, right? So now going back to the church, it's like I'm in this position where religion is somewhat being weaponized against me to hide sexism, to hide so many other things. And now I'm in a school where the system in itself has its own complexities. And I have to use this to basically bridge the gap for my peers so they don't get locked up, so they don't get gunned down, or so their
Mhm.
abusive parents don't take them over, right? So these things, again, there is this pressure because it's like, yo, it's life or death. at this point,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't want my man's getting gunned down. So I got to think of a quick excuse to try to like, okay, like let's give him another chance. Like
And at that age too.
at that age. But
That's
and
some serious pressure.
it's
Because
serious.
you had to analyze the whole thing.
Yes.
You couldn't just be like, that's my friend.
No.
It's got to be like, no, 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 I don't care if it's your friend. What's
No.
right? What's your
But
duty?
right. Yeah.
You know what
Like,
I'm
how
saying?
are we going about this? Like, do you want to die? Do you want to walk across the streets for graduation? But these are the type of conversations that are like, we need to have it because the amount of Black boys that are dropping in Bed-Stuy, what are we doing? Right? The amount of young ladies who are sacrificing themselves to the streets and prostitution every day. We're talking about 8, 9, 10-year-olds. What are we doing as a community to ensure that this gap is being bridged and that these things are not happening? So again, the pressure. And I use my voice. And sometimes my voice was not wanted at the table. But as long as it saved the life, that was all that mattered to me.
Yeah, that's important. That's important. People want change, but you got to speak up.
Yeah.
You gotta be the change.
Yeah.
And you're right. Think about it. Growing up in the inner city, some of these things, we kind of brush it off our shoulders, like, it's not. But then when you really look at the stats, now as adults, and you look back at the stats, and you see, like, out of the school, there's 100% Black and brown people, but then only 20% of them are going to college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of them, 40% of them are getting GEDs, and the others are failing out of school. You're like, what? I was in that same school. You
And
question.
like literally, and I tell people like, and I guess I should have mentioned that in the first question. Like, I feel like I grew up with the haves and the have-nots, right? Like, I grew up in the hood, I grew up in public housing, but at the same time, my parents, I traveled every summer.
Mm,
I say traveled every summer. I wasn't talking about going to Miami. I'm talking about like I'm in France. I'm in Turkey, right? Like we're doing 2 trips a summer. So one summer is in the Caribbean, then the other summer is in the Caribbean. We're to Europe. We're going to Israel. We're doing all of these things. So in my head, a lot of the things that I was experiencing was like, yeah, I grew up in the hood, but shouldn't every child who grew up in the hood have the exposure that I have? No.
yeah, yeah,
And it wasn't until like I'm older now, and even still to this day, like there's so many things that I have to unlearn that I'm like, oh my gosh, for me, God's hand was really over me. And I
yeah,
don't understand how fortunate I actually am, right? Like, yeah, I did grow up in public housing and I had that resentment towards my parents. Like, why? Like, why did we have to grow up this way? Why didn't we have this other exposure? But it's like, aren't you happy that you made it out alive? Right? Aren't you
girl,
aren't you
girl.
happy that
New
child like
York, New York is different now.
New York is different.
Different. It's different. I,
It's
I, s-
different.
I don't even know. I don't. I think about it all the time. I'm like, yeah, it was the gangs and the teen pregnancy and the drugs. I grew up in the '80s, right? So in the '80s, there was, crack pandemic in the
Yeah.
Bronx. It's all this craziness going on, and I was like, I thought that was bad. New York now, girl. Mm-mm. You had to be built differently. But that's why immigrant parents, they came over here and they had that resilience. They were like, no matter what the struggle is, we're gonna get through this,
Yeah, we're gonna figure
right?
it out.
And they figured it out, and then they gave that on to us, and we have obviously taken it on to the next place. So I'm again finding your voice in the inner city is very hard, very very hard. So you had to again. I think the traveling, I think the church, I think family, obviously we're all helping in that situation. And then you just being a good student, saying like, I want to find it.
Yeah.
I don't want it to sit here and just be another statistic.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be a statistic. You could just sit down, don't move. You're going to definitely be one. Or you could get up and actually do something. Go on to college, get a degree, get a trade, go to trade school, do something to kind of advocate for yourself and advocate for your community. So I'm glad that you're doing that. And I know that you're doing something like that with women as well too. Is that correct? You're doing something like helping women face like deep trauma with personal experience and encounters, pushing them. Something you co-founded. Talk a little bit more about that.
So in 2000 and I believe 21, we officially co-found my mother founded this organization called FEWGI, which stands for the Foundation for the Emancipation of Women and Girls. And this organization was birthed out of some of her experiences that she had as a child. And she saw that young Haitian women were having back in Haiti, which basically deals with young women who have been through rape, domestic violence, who have went through food scarcity, who don't have a home. And we ensure that they are able to navigate through society. So we provide them with tools for their businesses. We provide them with homes. We provide them with education. We provide them with any resources that they may need, because again, going back to what I was talking about originally with sexism, we find that a lot of the women in Haiti, unfortunately, there's this bridge with having their voice in politics. There's this bridge with having their voice just in society. Even the home dynamics are quite different from here in America, right? In America, we can get up and protest and have a good time and start a
Yeah,
hashtag.
yeah,
Boom,
yeah, yeah.
now we have a social justice campaign that's going on, and there's corporate, companies that are tagging on. But in Haiti, it's not like that. You can literally lose your life for
Not
saying,
speaking up.
for speaking up. So what this organization does is basically foster their voices and allow them to understand that your voice needs to be heard, and not that you are not voiceless. You just need to know that you feel safe to use that voice and that it's there.
Mm, mm. And where's this organization located?
The organization is located in New York City, but we
Mm.
deal with women in Haiti. We also have different like cups. So basically, it's like Brazil. We have some in DR. We have them all over because, as you know, like Haitians are everywhere, right? We're all over the place. So wherever we find that there is a big number of Haitian women there, we go over there. We have a chapter in New York City. We're about to open up a chapter in DC. So yeah,
Okay, okay. Well, shout out to you and your moms for that. It's a
thank you.
big thing. And then obviously, I love the word Fuji. I don't know if it's any reference.
No,
It's no, because I was like, hold on now. That's bringing me back to that era of music.
love.
We was rocking with that era. It was rocking
We,
with that era.
we love Wyclef. We love Lauren Hill. We love them all.
Yeah, shout to that. That was good. White Clef was always he was a big advocate
Yes.
helping out the Haitian community. I worked with him when I was on tour. I opened up for him in Africa, and
Wow.
and I had an opportunity to speak with him, and he was very very passionate about the Haitian culture.
Yes.
Like this guy, you would think he would be the president.
Yes.
Like the way he was talking about it, I said, bro, you are everything was Haitian. There
Yeah.
wasn't anything. We were like, yeah, where'd you get that? Haiti. Where'd you get that watch? Haiti. Where do you record? Haiti. I was like, okay, brother man, I think you won. I think you won, Wyclef. I think you won.
I think
Yeah.
he does a really good job at, like, how some people, once they indulge in the American culture, they suddenly forget where they came from.
Yeah.
Not him. Like, he's like down. That's really like he's standing on business for Haiti. Like,
And
everything about him is a Haitian man.
and every time he inclined, he took Haiti with him.
Mm-hmm.
That is something I love about the man. You are right. You're right. You come into the American culture. As you go up, it's more Americanized.
Yeah.
Like you don't see other Haitians
Yeah.
at the top of sitting at the table sometimes, right?
Oh,
So
they're there. They're just not.
they don't have a voice as much.
They don't want to say it because they have
Mm,
to dumb it down because it's not American enough, or we have to
yeah,
leave some part of our
yeah.
culture behind.
Gotcha. I love it, love it, love it. What was like one of the hardest conversations you had to navigate in like work? Like how did you stay rooted in your purpose and not like shift?
Hmm.
Because I know you had some tough conversations.
Some tough conversations. I've had a lot of tough conversations. So I'm like, Lord.
Yeah.
This one conversation that I recall was earlier on when I was interning on Capitol Hill. And I was dealing with this feeling as if I was worthy enough to be in such a position that I was in and to have the
Mm,
exposure that I had. And in the beginning, I was like, is this really happening? Like, am I really here? Is this like, so because I felt like I was unworthy, I began to become lazy.
Mm,
I
mm.
didn't want to show up too much because I felt like an imposter. That thing called imposter syndrome that I no
Yeah,
longer believe.
that's serious stuff right there.
That's something that's serious. And I remember one of the higher ups noticed a change in my behavior, and they called in a meeting, and he looked at me and he said to me, "This is not you. This cannot be tolerated." And for a moment, and it was one of my white higher ups at that. And for a moment, I just broke down in tears because the way that he looked at me when he spoke to me, he wasn't speaking to me, he was speaking to my soul.
Mm,
Right?
mm,
Like, I don't know what you believe, if you believe that you are not worthy to be here, but you are worthy to be here, and I need you to show up at 100%. And I deal with a lot of cases. I deal with rape cases, domestic violence, people not getting their papers, a whole bunch of things. But before I talk about being an advocate for the people, Princess has to be good. Princess has to understand that in whatever space that she is in, she is worthy, she is whole, and she must show up.
mm, mm,
And that changed the narrative for my confidence and how I show up at all times. How I take the street, even if I'm going across the street, how I introduce myself, how I present myself, just me in my wholeness. That was just life changing for me. That was a
mm,
tough conversation that I had to have with
mm.
myself.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that it is very hard when you're having a conversation with, your supervisor,
Yeah.
right? And you said clearly, you were like, definitely was not Haitian, right? And they coming for you, right? And they kind of like laying it down on you, and you're saying to yourself like, it kind of flashes through your head because I was in situations like that when I was in corporate, and I would think back with my family members, my parents, and I'm like, this is the life they want for me, but it, it, it's hard being in these shoes, being young, not having anyone to lead you and help coach you through these kind of things. And you have someone who's doesn't look like you, doesn't speak the language like you, call you out. Now they could call you out and get you fired, or they could call you out and try to help elevate you and stuff like that. Seems like there was a mixture of the both right there. So I'm glad that
No, it was definitely to elevate me, not to get me fired at all. It was a conversation that was like, I feel like the grown woman conversation for me. Like, what are we doing? Are we
come on. Sometimes you need to hear that,
Yeah, like, what are we and it was
but
like, oh, like, I'm not no punk. And it's like, no,
yeah,
you're not.
but
So
you weren't
what are you
you weren't
doing?
doing it because you were lazy. You were just doing it because you just didn't know if you fit in,
Yeah, I was
right?
I was I was genuinely like, so much was happening at once.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah. I
was
could have.
like, whoa, hold on. Like, what is going on? And it was just like this mental attack. Like, you're not meant to be here. Like, oh, you can't handle this. You can't do this. You can't do that. But the one thing that I've learned, and I've been having this conversation, is you have to really be able to discern when you're feeling discouraged versus when you're not called to be somewhere. And whenever you are feeling discouraged, that means that you are called to be there,
Hmm.
period. And I was feeling a lot of discouragement because I was called to be there. And for me, again, like, the devil didn't want me to be there. It was like, if I can keep you in captivity, then you will never show up in your fullness. You will never show up in your full self. And that conversation, no, I don't feel like he was trying to violate. I don't feel like he was trying to slide, you know, get a big one on me. He was really like concerned, like, you started off so crazy. Like, you were on
Yeah,
a
keep the
roll.
momentum.
Like,
Yeah,
what happened last week? Do you need some water? You need to run around or
yeah.
something? Like, we need to get you back on track. But that was, again, life changing for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, shout to this giving that, and the fact that you're breaking down that conversation. I feel like a lot of the listeners that are listening, they're gonna have those conversations,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you're speaking on it because it's not like you're saying I had to be in an office with a whole bunch of people that didn't look like me, right?
Yeah. No.
You're saying that was something, but this was another thing.
Yeah.
When when your supervisor who doesn't look like you speak the language that you speak sit down with you and lecture to you in a way, just being like, look, you need to pull up, or you might have to go. That's a scary moment because you're like, whoa, whoa, hold on now. I got here. I don't want to tell my parents I'm losing this, right? So you've done a wonderful job with that. And I know you navigated all the way over from something like that, that experience to getting you to a TEDx coach at Harvard. Is that correct? That's big. That's big right there. TEDx coach
For her,
right there.
yes.
Talk to me about that. How are you shaping others? How you helping other people shape their narratives? Uh, and like by with the experiences you've gone through, being a coach is a big thing. You're helping other people. So in a situation where your supervisor was helping you and giving you that kind of like insight, like, look, we need to step this up. Now you're doing it in another way, your own way, with this TEDx coaching. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so going back to the influence that the church has had on me, obviously growing up around pastors, like my grandmother's home was like this hub where pastors from all over the world would come in and they would sleep over, and I would sit in on a lot of their note taking before they would get on stage or before that Sunday or that Saturday, whatever revival that we were having. And I would always observe how intentional they were about their note taking. And then coming on stage, and of course, you're told you want to be led by the Spirit and do all of these things, but there was a story there's a story that's being told to a congregation, reminding them of God's glory, reminding them of God's redemption, reminding them that God forgives them. But again, there's this intentionality in storytelling. If we look back into the Bible, one of the best stories come from the Bible. So now going through school, advocacy, the nonprofit work, and all of these things, being able to convey a message is what's going to get the people on board. And in a lot of political messaging, that's what we see in campaigns, right? I think that President Donald Trump has a really good way, whether we agree or disagree with his politics, but he has a really great way of getting people on board.
Mm-hmm.
And now with TEDx, I applied, and coaching has been something that has been life-changing and you have to be very intentional, because at times you will come across people who are seasoned, like the pastors, like the whatever, who'll be like, yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing. And it's like, well, no, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You're an expert
Yeah.
in your field, yes. You've studied, yes. You have the degrees, yes. But not everybody is able to tell a story. Not everybody is able to moderate a panel. Not everybody is able to host a podcast. It's a gift and it's a skill that you have to be able to hone in on, but you
Yeah.
have to be willing to learn and understand your voice. So in doing that, I've coached a NASA scientist who graduated from Harvard University. I've coached a life coach who used to be in the Marines, who graduated from Harvard University. And again, it's like one of those moments where it's like, well, I didn't go to school to be a NASA scientist. And yet it's like, no, they want your expertise, right? They
Yeah.
want to know if this sounds right, if the flow is going well, if the vibrations is on. And
Mm.
it's everything.
You,
Everything.
you know what you're making me? You're bringing me back to the story now, what you said earlier about your mother in the office.
Yeah.
You were doing TEDx coaching back then too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like. I'm connecting dots, baby girl. I'm like, hold up,
Yeah.
hold
No.
on,
Yeah.
something going on right here.
Yeah.
Or pick up what she's dropping down right now.
Yeah.
That's exactly what was happening back then in that office. She was like, I need your advice. I need your expertise. I need you not to be the 9-year-old child. I need you to be a woman and tell me
Mm.
exactly what we should be doing in this situation right here. Now you're a TEDx coach and you're helping scientists.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, who would have thought? And like you said, you're like, I didn't go to school to be a scientist, but they're asking you for advice.
Yeah.
You
It's like,
like, did you tell mom about this?
no, my mom,
They-
my mom is like, she's the first one to know. But Haitian parents, they're very like, my dad is like, okay. It's like, girl, as you should. Like, what
Yeah,
you thought we
but you
we
know
put you,
what? You know what?
yeah,
I
like
win.
we put you through Howard University for you to do what? Like to We got you through all of these things. This is what
We're expecting this from you already.
this is you, girl. Get it
This
together.
is it already has your name on it,
Yeah.
princess. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we here.
Yeah.
We're
Like,
not even worried about you.
yeah, like as you should, girl.
But it's good that those moments in time, you can look back and be like, and I've been in situations like that where, my mother always told me I was gonna be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
That was her thing. She was like, it was four of us, and out of all my siblings, she was like, Paul. My middle name is Barry, so she was like, Barry, you're definitely gonna be a lawyer. And I was like, Mom, I don't even like talking, right? And she's like, because every time there's something broken in the house, we know we can ask you,
Yeah.
but you always got a story to tell. You always got a story. And my father would call me Mr. Excitement. So the entertainment and also the hosting and narratives that I give all came together. So I thank my parents for like dropping those gems at me early on in the game. The amount of times she said lawyer and the amount of times my father said Mr. Excitement. Every time I got in trouble, they were like Stephen Brian, Mr. Excitement.
His name is not Paul. Actually, on the birth certificate, it is Mr. Excitement S.
I'm like, what? Dad,
Yeah.
you gonna call me out like that? And when the other family members are around, you know how the immigrant family always got like they gotta make sure they let the family know who's the one. We got a lot of kids over here, but Mr. Excitement over here.
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah. So shout out to mom, dad, for really just dropping those gems on us. I think a big question I really want to ask you, you know what I'm saying? I know that you being a Haitian woman, being a woman of color, you are in leadership positions every single day, right?
Yeah.
I know you are in spaces that sometimes don't feel safe, right? And then also you're in rooms and environments where the pressure is pretty high. And you gotta succeed with limited amount of resources and help. How do you maintain your sanity, girl? Because I know when I'm in a room and I'm like, you want me to do what? With what? Excuse me.
Was this question? Was this a part of the questions that was? I'm like, whoa, no, woo.
Come on. I'm here to learn too. You know what I'm saying? I want our listeners here at the Zaka platform to know that we ain't sugarcoating anything. This is real
Yeah,
deal. We catch you in the moment right now.
yeah, no, yo, when I tell you, I believe that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior.
Come on. Come on.
If it was not
We
for
tapping in.
that man,
We tapping.
would I would have lost my
Sister.
mind.
Well, shout
And
out to the homie, the big
I
homie.
know for real, and I say this not even like jokingly or even in the sense of my career. I think just from an early age, seeing how much like I was under attack, right? Like these these things that were constantly trying to take me out and constantly trying to tell me that I'm not worthy, which is why, again, when you ask that question, what was the most life-changing conversation? I'm sure everyone expected me to hear like, oh yeah, I got this case and I did. No, it was that like reminder, like, hello, like I know the plans that I have for you, like plans to prosper. Like, no. No one is taking you off this earth but me, who is God. And dealing with certain things, you have to have a strong sense of self. You have to have that outlet. You have to have that strong sense of like, I'm a daughter of a king. Like I'm here. I am not an imposter. No one is going to take me out. I am safe. So even in those unsafe rooms, I'm safe. You feel me? Like I grew up on, if you're familiar with Brooklyn, like Crown Heights, I grew up on Montgomery Street.
Yeah.
It's like 189 is over there, right across the street from Brownsville.
Yeah, Bronx, come on.
Like,
Come on.
I know what it's like to walk through a street where the street isn't safe, but I'm safe. I'm good.
In broad daylight too.
In broad daylight, right? Going to school in Bed-Stuy, you know how many incidents after school? There would be a shootout. There'll be a stabbing incident. But my mom, I think my family has helped me understand that even if your surroundings don't look safe, you need to feel safe in here. And that has made me, I believe, walk through streets and I'm like, not arrogantly, but it's like nothing is gonna touch me. Like whatever that needs to go by, those arrows that need to fly by is gonna have to fly by. But I'm leaving here. I'm gonna leave here with something, right? Denzel Washington voice. Like
Mm.
I'm
Okay,
gonna be
come on.
I'm gonna be straight. Like, and again, so I think like
Ain't nobody got none on you.
yeah, no, like I think growing up in the hood definitely did that for me. Growing up in a church,
I mean, the church also is like it thinks just it moves just like that. Where they're like, look,
streets.
if you got God on your side, nothing's happening.
Yeah,
And
but
in the street, you like, you're thinking about if I'm connected or affiliated with this group right here, nothing's
yeah, like
happening.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? But
So you
even
was protected both sides of the
both
fence.
sides, both sides. But even in the church, right? It's like sometimes the people that you think, oh, these people should be praying and doing all of these things, like you should feel safe, but it's not. It's not. So my discernment very early had to be on 10, right? I had to
Mm.
be very aware of like where I'm sitting, who am I speaking to? I was being able to observe the room and work the room. And
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. No, I
has,
get you.
yeah, like that has kept me balanced. But like after God, the gym and running is my best friend. So I
Okay,
don't
you
have
love
to
running.
crash out. Huh?
You love running.
I love to run. Yeah.
Okay, what's up? I'm at to come down to Brooklyn now.
Yeah, you got to come down to Brooklyn.
I'm
Cause
gonna get my little track stickers out right now.
yeah, no, because I think like even thinking about the situations, I remember I was listening to the first podcast with Mr. Godfrey of DoorDash, right? And I
Hmm.
think he spoke about the situation where he was at a speaking engagement and then somebody walked around and you made this clear, like he walked all the way around to basically make it seem like he was like the coat check guy. And he talked about having to like, you got to think before you react. You got to think before you make that decision where you black on someone. I'm thankful for that question because that was off the cuff. There has to be an outlet in situations like these, right? Even with the situation with Miss Ross, when I believe when she was working at Accenture, that complicated relationship that she has to think before she makes a decision, right? So
100%.
anybody who's also listening to this, please find an outlet. If you can't answer that question, there's a problem because you're gonna need the outlet so you don't
100.
crash out.
100. It is important to have an outlet. And I think every thought leader has been on the show has all said that. People like I cook, I bake, my family's my outlet. I feel like you can't go through life without an outlet. The outlet is like the natural remedy there and natural medication. And if you hold back on taking that medication every single day, you're obviously putting yourself at risk.
Yes.
And I say people shouldn't be playing around with their happiness. Bottom line, let's stop right now. If you're not smiling every day, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. If you're not waking up excited to share your experiences in your life with the people that you love and your community, something's wrong. We need to find a way to tap in, get some serious, like, people to check in on you and stuff. But like we got to be, grateful for what we have and really move with what we got, and just and make the best of it.
Yep.
So I'm glad we be saying the same thing. And I had to catch you off guard for a quick second because I was like, look, my sister, she really dropping some gems today, and I want to kind of pull some more out of her, because who knows, we might have to wait a couple more weeks to get another episode with you.
I got you.
uh let's talk about, I know we talked a little bit about trauma a little bit earlier, but I want to dive back into that. I know communities that are affected by trauma and um other issues, hope is always like a distance, right? You're like, especially in the inner city. That's what, when we're talking about all this inner city stuff, I was like, hold up, the inner city is constant trauma. Don't even know what's happening, but it is happening to us. But the sense of hope, like there's actually light at the end of the tunnel. How do you help someone find that, stay grounded? How do you help other individuals see the light? Because I know that obviously your work that you do goes well past, all the things that you're doing. I could already sense it in you that you like to give back and help. So talk
Yeah.
to me about that.
I think that's a deep question. The first thing is, do you know your name?
Mm,
Do you know who you are?
mm. Okay.
You know whose you are. I have this speaking company called the Speaker of Humanity, which was basically birthed out of a trip that I took with Howard University for alternative spring break in Savannah, Georgia, where we spoke to so many young kids in the schools. And one of the things that I noticed was they were afraid to introduce themselves. And the reason why I noticed that was because my name, Princess, is a name that was often used against me. Like, oh, you think you're a princess? Oh, like who calls their daughter princess? Oh, that's a stripper name. And people would like bully me growing
Wow.
up. And
Woo.
I remember this instance where I'm being asked by the principal of the school in Georgia to introduce myself. And I hear this voice that tells me, don't say your name, the kids are going to laugh. But I end up saying my name, and the children surround me and they go, you are a princess. I can tell you're a princess. And all of these things are happening. And I'm like, wait, if I'm afraid to introduce myself, how can I tell other young Black kids to introduce themselves? But that was the thing that I kept coming up. And once I was able to get through intros, then people started telling me about themselves more.
Mm-hmm.
And then the foundation started to become a bit more stable. So a lot of it is like, who are you? That's the first question I ask. Who are you? And even if you're unable to answer that question, I'm going to help you answer it. You may not have the right words to say, but the one thing that I want everyone who I encounter to know is that you are not alone, because loneliness is a killer, right? And the minute that you can make someone feel, not feel, but the minute that you can help somebody understand that they are worthy, that there's somebody that's listening to them, that there's somebody who is willing to sit down with them, that's like my core in getting people to speak and understanding their value.
Mm, mm, mm. You were dropping some stuff. You dropping some heat. You definitely came ready to slay right now.
And
So shout out to that. Shout out to that. Just a few more things on my end for you, just because this interview is you're doing a phenomenal job of really breaking down a lot of stuff, and you're breaking it down in a sense where it's tangible.
yeah,
Right? You're not saying anything crazy. You're not like you got to do this, right? You're like, no, no, no. That's what you got to do. This is what I did. Step one, step two. Find things that ground you. Be connected to something, a higher power, right? Higher education, right? Don't be afraid to have um, those deep conversations.
mhm,
Know your name, know your self worth. Like you're saying things along this episode where if someone's jotting it down, they got the blueprint.
yeah.
They just have to do it in their own way now. They're like, you know what? I think I'm not really doing this first. Let me add this to the top of the list. Let me put this second, put this third. But you're definitely giving a strong blueprint for someone to follow. So I greatly appreciate your time and your effort to really just help out and making sure that it's definitely tangible. Something one of the next questions the Haitian heritage, right? Guided you how has your Haitian heritage guided you in like your leadership, your thought process, and how you move through? I know you said the Haitian community is very big on resilience, family, and stuff like that. So how do you use your Haitian culture to kind of navigate through your life now?
I think again, like it's real like hustle and bustle, right? Like for me, my grandmother just always ensured that we were good, right? Like no matter what, with the little English that she had, we were gonna make it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think seeing that from such a strong Haitian woman in everything that I do, it's like something's gonna get figured. Like Denzel said, I'm leaving out of here with something, right? Like so even navigating like the neighborhoods that I grew up in and all of those other things is I just had a strong head on my shoulders. I was able to navigate through different spaces and also understand like there is no such thing as representation is not there. The representation is not there. The representation just may not have the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And being so deeply engulfed in my community because of my mom, my dad, and my grandmother, it's like, I guess the things that people think that are not possible, I know that it's possible. because I've seen it. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
Need to again ensure that there are platforms that are manifesting that and professing it in a way that is tangible for other people to see. And
True.
I'd say
Very
the
true.
other thing is like all I've ever really known is being Haitian. Like I don't all the schools that I went to were practically almost predominantly Haitian except for the school in Bed-Stuy. I think I was like one of the few Haitians in Bed-Stuy. The
Mm-hmm.
rest were like other cultures and other groups. And but I went to a high school that was predominantly Haitian because it was a nursing school, and all Haitian parents, if you're not an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, they
Oh
want you
wow.
to be a nurse.
Oh man.
they,
Okay.
they want you to be a nurse, okay?
Mm.
And
Shout out
I
to all the Haitian nurses.
that's shout out to all the Haitian nurses. Shout
We know why you there. we know we know why you there.
out to all the Haitian nurses, exactly.
we
We
know
know
why you
exactly
there.
who made that decision for
That's
you,
right. You ain't make it.
right? So
You ain't make
like, yeah, like it's just again being proud of being Haitian. Not allowing other people to tell me that I'm not Haitian enough,
it. Mm-hmm.
because that's a thing. And also I love being Haitian is so bittersweet. I love being Haitian because when I think of the rich history, I cannot not love this country. I
Yeah.
cannot not fight for this country. I cannot not advocate for this country because it's mine and it's rightfully mine and it's rightfully the Haitian communities. I just one of my biggest praises that we're able to mobilize and come together and despite our differences remember the common goal and that is to restore Haiti.
And y'all are doing it with individuals like you leading the front lines. It's definitely on its way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's already there in the eyes of the Haitian and the Caribbean culture people. You know, we might see it a little bit differently than people who are Americanized and like, nah, it's not there yet. We know what our countries look like for like face value. We've seen the beauty of it, right? We've touched it. We've walked the land. We've met the people. We've mingled with them, our family members, and our community. But other individuals, and our goal is never to I always tell people it's never really to convince. It's just our job is just to inform, give guidance to people, and then they can make their own choices. But that's why again we talked about social media a little bit earlier and how it's very beneficial. The TED Talks, the podcast, giving people an opportunity. And I know someone's gonna listen to this podcast and be like, "Honey, maybe we should go to Haiti this summer." And that's what I want. That's what you want. I'm saying let's get it. Let's put some more money into the infrastructure of Haiti so that we could keep on developing, keep on developing. Just want to leave you one last question. Hopefully, this question was on the list to give you. Right. I'm just going to give you one last question. One last question is, you know, let's just say there's a young immigrant, young lady who's listening to this podcast. What is one lesson you would like to share with her right now in order to kind of help pursue her dreams, her career, how to navigate through this evil world sometimes. Something you can just give her something that she could walk away with. Because you said you ain't leaving without some.
Right.
And this immigrant woman who's listening right now, she's not leaving without it. So give her that one last gem.
Don't allow this barrier to intimidate you. You are smarter than you think you are. You are much smarter than this American culture. Do not allow people to make you believe that because you don't speak a language, that means that you are not called to be in a space. And you're worthy. Like you are 1000% worthy, and you have to believe that you are worthy. And there's a community of people who are willing to help you. And one way or another, they're going to find you.
Mm-hmm. True.
And the people who are meant to be in your life will be in your life, and the people who are not meant to be in your life, you need to know when to let them go.
100%. Put them on the chop block.
Yeah. Bye.
Come on. Get up out of here. Get up out of here. Well, Princess, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of the community here, Zaka, thank you so much for taking the time to be present with us, sharing this information, dropping all those gems, giving us clear direction on what we need to do as a community Yeah, I love the fact that you said like no matter what the differences are, whether you black, brown, whatever, the good thing about the Haitian culture is that when it's time to come together, we come together. And I'm glad that we were able to come together on this platform here at Zaka and really share this light with our community.
Thank you, Zaka. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Paul. I'm more than happy to be here.
Oh, yes, yes. And I want to let the listeners know if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Princess, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow us on our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed, Zaka, wherever you listen to your podcasts.